Hello, EMA community. Today we are with Lloyd from the European Commission. Hello, Lloyd.
Hiya, how you doing?
Fine. So, where are you now, Lloyd? Where are we having this remote conversation from?
I'm here in Brussels, in Belgium, one of the three seats of the European Commission. Actually, you can see this little window here just behind me. That's our office in the Directorate General for Education, Culture, Youth and Sport. Even though I live right next door to the office, I've not been allowed to visit it for the last 9 weeks for obvious reasons. But under usual circumstances, that's where we kind of manage the Erasmus program, and obviously Erasmus Mundus is part of that. And over the road from there, we have the executive agency who runs the Erasmus Mundus programs. My personal portfolio, which I work on, is Erasmus Plus alumni, and that's why I'm talking to you guys this morning from the Erasmus Mundus Association. Obviously, very sad that you can't host your General Assembly in person. I understand we were meant to be going to Romania, the wonderful country Romania, for this, but unfortunately we can't, of course. But very happy to be able to contribute digitally anyway. So, yeah, hello,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes, thank you. It has certainly been a challenge for all of the Erasmus Mundus Association members, all the volunteers, to be able to bring this information online to all of our members and potential members worldwide. So thank you again. And yeah, you have already touched upon a bit of what you do inside of the European Commission. You mentioned the Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. That's actually can we say, the section, the departments of the European Commission that has a direct relationship with us, the Erasmus Mundus Association, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So we're very much in touch with you guys. I think our relationship stems back to sometime in the mid 2000s. I'm not sure of the exact year. I was obviously still at school then because I'm still so young. Yeah, we're looking at May. I think it was around 2006, something like that. Obviously, we've had different ways of supporting EMA over the years, but now we've settled on this kind of when Erasmus Plus consolidated all of the programs under one program, Erasmus Plus, of course. This is when we invited EMA to become one of the partner organisations in the Erasmus Plus Student and Alumni Alliance, and now we support EMA through the activities there.
It's nice that you mentioned ESA, which is the Erasmus Students and Alumni Alliance, right? And many organizations, including the Erasmus Mundus Association, make part of this alliance. Let's try to explain a little bit how this umbrella works and who are the member organizations of this ESA, big ESA.
Yeah, so we support ESSA through various activities. So some of the projects which your members can apply for. We also offer some logistical support for your General Assembly. Also some IT support as well. So things like your website, your community portal, which I believe is now up and running. I really hope all your members are going to start going on there, putting in their details to make it easier for you guys to all keep in touch and keep, a kind of sense of global community and solidarity between you, especially more than ever during these times. So that's kind of the concrete support which we offer through ESSA. We also offer these to some of the other associations as well. So in there as well, you have the association I used to volunteer with. That's how I ended up working on Erasmus alumni here in the European Commission. So I was volunteering with Erasmus Student Network. They're quite well known, but they have very much a more European focus, at least for the moment, and don't have such a specialization in a certain program. So obviously you guys are very much centered on your kind of uniqueness as Erasmus Mundus alumni. And then there's also Garage Erasmus. They focus a bit on employability, all of this kind of thing. They're gradually expanding out into the rest of the world, but remain very much a European-based organization. And then you also have the Oceans Network, and that's more kind of for alumni who have done what we call international credit mobility. So these are kind of the classic Erasmus exchanges, not degree mobility like you guys have done, where you do you know how it works, where you go to 2, 3, maybe even 4 universities within Europe. These guys have done a more simple exchange, perhaps between Europe and, for example, Latin America or Asia or any number of countries around the world. or in the opposite direction. So that's what they're kind of the specializations we support. And then there's also they're not officially members of ESSA, but they kind of have a strong link between them, a strong cooperation. You also have the Western Balkans Alumni Association and the African Students and Alumni Forum. And I know that your members in these regions can also look to people volunteering with these associations for some synergy as well.
Yes, we have volunteers and members of the Erasmus Mundus Association who are also very strongly participating in the strengthening of these two last ones that you mentioned, the Western Balkans Alumni Association and also the African one. So this is very interesting, but I would like to know some of the information that only you can give us from the European Commission, that it's regarding how big is the Erasmus Mundus community, the Erasmus Mundus community of people who have already graduated or are taking an Erasmus Mundus joint master degree at the moment.
Well, Erasmus Mundus started back in 2004. Apparently, we've awarded over 25,000 Erasmus Mundus master's scholarships, 1,600 doctoral fellowships, and these were under the old program, the previous, where Erasmus Mundus was kind of a bit separate from Erasmus Plus, and that was until 2013. And we've had another 23,000 bachelor's, master's and doctoral grants given under Action 2. You might remember the old Erasmus Mundus Action 2 from 2007 to 2013. And then looking a bit further to the future, the future seems to be quite bright. The action will continue in the new program. From a scholarship holder's point of view, there will not be so much change, so you can expect young graduates to be applying in the same kind of way, which they always have done. But there will be a completely kind of demand-driven division between the Europeans and the non-Europeans who are able to participate. So there have been some kind of very light quotas. It was a maximum of 25% or a minimum of 75% from one side or the other, which we have. But in the future, we expect that it will be completely demand-driven. So anybody from around the world will be able to apply and have an equal chance. There won't be kind of these quotas, especially with Erasmus Mundus being kind of the excellence action, kind of the, we want to have these really great degrees with excellent graduates. So that's really what we're thinking about there. And probably the biggest change is we're going to drop restrictions on mobility to non-European countries. So it will be a lot easier for non-European universities and partners to get involved as part of the consortium, and for students to get involved, go to these different countries as well.
That sounds like the European Commission right now, it's really aligning with the values of the Erasmus Mundus Association. We do have shared values since the beginning, since we were constituted as an association. And some of them are, of course, excellence, diversity, but we really work for international mobility and access to higher education for everyone. Let's say that's the big aim of the Erasmus Mundus Association. So how would you think, or how would you say that these values between EMA and the European Commission are shared?
I think we can look at the current situation as a great example of this. COVID-19, the current pandemic, or global pandemic, as some people like to say, has forced some flexibility in the way that we're teaching, in the way that we're learning, in the way that courses are delivered. So we're having to be flexible with this, of course. We're having to be flexible in the way we support different degree programs. And it's great seeing you guys being flexible and kind of thinking on your feet, this tolerance of ambiguity, I think, which comes from living abroad and studying abroad as well. I think this is a time when people who have lived in other countries, who have been living out of a suitcase perhaps for 2 years, like I'm sure some of you have been doing, can really step up and use that experience of unfamiliar situations to help society move along in more difficult times, certainly. On that, a bit more concretely, where we are looking into things like what second year students particularly are going through. So some of them, for example, have their lab work, and we stand very much solid with those guys, trying to work out how can we still award your master's degrees, or how can we make sure that you will still be able to study Erasmus Mundus in some form or another, even in these trying times. As
Yes.
for some kind of more general values, obviously we really value freedom, and we like to think that these degrees give you the chance to experience a bit of freedom going out into the world, leaving your homes for a bit, discovering what it's like in different parts of the world. We have democracy in there as well. Democracy is a key EU value. No European country can become an EU member without being a democracy. And I've been sent some of your documents for this weekend. I've not looked at them because I don't want to be a bit too nosy, but it looks like you're definitely doing a lot of voting as well in the next couple of days. So it's good to see that it's not kind of just your kind of management board who are steering the association, but all of you have the chance to have your say. And that's something which we very much have here in the European Union, that all citizens, they can start like petitions online, and if 1 million people sign up for them, it's called the European Citizens Initiative, then this will be discussed in the European Parliament, for example. So we have all of these kinds of values as well, making sure that everybody in society has the chance to have their voice heard. Obviously, we have equality as well. This is something that we see in EMA. I think as well that goes hand in hand with democracy. Respecting the rule of law as well. This is something we value a lot in the EU. And obviously, you guys now, you have your statutes and these kind of rules, which, I always think rules, they sound a bit boring, but they're very important as well. It's important to have these rules and know what you're abiding by. Otherwise, everything just becomes a bit chaotic. And then, of course, we've got human rights as well. This is something which we cannot take for granted, especially lots of you are coming from all different countries around the world. And I think Erasmus Mundus and especially EMA itself is a great place where people can meet, share their experiences, share their different opinions, and learn from one another's cultures. And that's what it's like for me. I mean, I work with employees, fellow colleagues from between 30 and 40 different countries around the world. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities in our values, definitely, I would say.
And I would say that that's the reason why, even when we changed our statutes last year and we sort of wanted to get some independence from the European Commission, we are still very close together because we share these values. That's my personal opinion. But in this process of getting this independence from the EU Commission, how did the relationship between Erasmus Mundus Association and the EU change?
Before, EMA was very much almost a creation of the European Commission. It was a very kind of top-down, we want to create a community of alumni. Obviously, you need motivated people to do that, but in the past, those volunteers were completely reliant on the European Commission support. And while it's always nice to have support, this can be limiting as well, because that support naturally comes with conditions on what you can and what you can't do. I explained a little bit earlier about the support which we do still offer EMA, but what we definitely hope by giving you guys more autonomy to go out, have your own ideas, is that you won't be limited by by our thinking and by our regulations as well. So you're now free to go out, find your own commercial partners, for example, to work on projects which you really want to, and you don't have those kinds of obligations anymore. So that's really what I think, and it's really now up to EMA. You can be a lot more of a bottom up rather than a top down organisation, I think, and this is key. And I mean, this is how it was for me when I was volunteering with Erasmus Student Network. We were always very free to create our own agenda, to work on the projects which were important to us, and not be told from some people in some building here in Brussels what you need to do. You're now kind of very free to do what you want. And the support which we offer now goes hand in hand with that, because your members can propose projects. And I mean, obviously we don't have an unlimited funding in order to support those projects, but we can, and we do have a look at those ones which are interesting, ideas which would never even occur to us, working here in offices every day, and see what's really interesting and what really gets you guys wanting to volunteer. And I think volunteering is something which really comes from within as well. You're giving up. I mean, especially in the case of EMA, I think pretty much all of your members are professionals. They've all got important and busy careers, and when you get home, the last thing you want to do is volunteer because you feel obliged to, and it should never really feel like that. You should always be volunteering because you really want to, and it's something which gives you joy, I think. So if you're choosing what you work on and you're doing exactly what you want to be doing, creating some value in something which you think is important, that I think that goes a really long way to creating a strong organization as well, because people feel empowered that they can achieve their own goals as well through their involvement in an association.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, we do want to empower our members to be proactive, to take initiative, and to know exactly which resources can we provide, can the European Commission provide, and how they can develop their own projects back in their countries. But